verifying identities in my math lab. Obviously, this type of problem is not so great in the computer. It's all about showing step after step after step. So I would say as you're working these My Math Lab problems, make sure that you're verifying the identities by hand first before you fill in what My Math Lab is asking. Let me show you the type of thing you'll be seeing. So here's a typical example. We're given an identity. We want to verify it. Again, please do this on your own paper by hand first before looking at anything else. Once you do that, you may be asked to do a few different things. In this particular problem, you're actually told start with the more complicated side and transform it to look like the other. That was that first strategy. Well, obviously the left side is the one that's most complicated, and they're now asking you to walk through some step by step. What would you do first with this thing? Well, you can kind of tell from how they started it that they are factoring. They're pulling that tangent x out to the front. And so in this blank, you would fill in what's left, which would of course be cosecant squared x from the first term and just a 1 because I took everybody from the second term. They're also asking you to fill out an explanation of the step you just took. And so you can read through the choices. It's the first one that we did. We factored out the greatest common factor and we can check our answer, and now they'll just have you continue to go through step by step, working the problem as well as providing reasons. Other times you might see something like this problem. Here's another identity that we're being asked to verify. They're using the word establish, same thing. Again, please do it on your own paper first. This time, instead of filling in blanks, you're being given a list of multiple choice steps. You have to kind of read this from right to left. You can see all the equal signs. They're essentially showing you step after step after step. It's a lot to take in here in the choices. This is why it's so critical that you do this by hand first, and then you'll just be choosing the option that matches the step you took. For example, in this problem, clearly I think the first step on the left would be to add those fractions together. You'd get a common denominator, you'd add the pieces together, and then you'd take it from there. Well, undoubtedly, one of these choices is going to show the correct answer after taking that step of adding the fractions. You follow through all the steps, one of the choices should match what you have. Of course, the tricky thing is that there are sometimes different ways of approaching the problem. You may do it on paper one way, whereas the person writing these choices did it another way, in which case you'll have to start looking at the choices to see what's valid and what's not. Finally, you may see some like this. Here's another example, verify the identity. Here you're being asked to fill in some strategy steps along the way. So they're saying start with the left side and state what you would do with it. Well, we haven't learned this strategy yet. We will later. The strategy here is called multiplying by the conjugate on the top and bottom. The conjugate is the same thing that you see but with a different sign in the middle. So the conjugate of 1 minus cosecant b would be 1 plus cosecant b. Again, we'll explain all that later. And then you'll be asked to actually show that step. Show multiplying the top and bottom by 1 plus cosecant b. Notice the reason here, because you're just really multiplying by 1. And then they're going to ask you, well, what does that become when you actually multiply it out? On the top, obviously 1 plus cosecant b. On the bottom, I think we're going to FOIL this out and end up with 1 minus cosecant squared b. So I believe that's this choice here. What did we just do? How did we do this? Let's see, did we square a binomial? I don't think so. That would be a binomial times itself. We must have used a special product of a sum and difference. Oh, sure enough, because we had a difference and then a sum here, and we multiplied those two together. Again, you'll work through the steps step by step. Here's one where they're providing you the next step, and you're just stating the reason. My Math Lab is doing the best it can. The main thing, though, is that you're working out these problems by hand. Thanks for watching.